we are going to be bringing to you our fantasy football special podcast. And really what this is more about how to rob your fantasy football league more than anything else, right? So we're gonna get down to nitty gritty. Now, I do have to explain to you guys, right? I do have to explain to you guys. Give you my big disclaimer. I gotta give you my big warning first and foremost. This isn't the who do I need to pick in the first round, second round, third round, and fourth round. No, this is none of that. I'm sorry. What you are going to get here is more about what position to pick where. And more importantly, right, there's a very specific audience I'm talking to. And I'm warning you now, in case you're like, yo, I'm looking for some tips for some fantasy football. I don't know if I'm going to have all the tips for you. This is more about fantasy 101. This is to make sure that you guys don't go out there and start drafting quarterbacks in the first round. This is really for my women's fantasy football league. This is a special 101 one-on-one for me to you on how to make sure that you ladies are successful through the draft. And as always, I'm gonna have this podcast ready for you ladies later. So you'll be able to have access to this so that you can go back and you can reference it anytime that you need to try to figure out, okay, who am I listening to? Or what do I need to do with? You know what? I didn't catch all this live. You was moving a little too fast. You know what they call me, a.k.a. the motor mouth of the South. It happens like that sometimes, right? So we'll make sure that we have this for you guys to constantly keep a reference to. But let's get directly into it, right? Do me a favor, bring that down a little bit. First things first. Let me explain to you again. Right? This isn't the who's my sleeper pick in the 10th round. No, on contraire, mon frere. I'm trying to get all of you beginners, all of you individuals that kind of say, I don't quite know what I'm doing. It's a little too complex for me. This is my first time here. This is a little, I get it. I'm here to put all you guys' mind at ease. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to put everybody's mind at ease. Relax your mind, put your conscience at ease. You're about to learn how to draft with your boy MyT. So, most of you by now, right? Let's start off with the bare basics. I should have kept my phone on me. Let's start off with the bare basics. Everybody, if you're playing right now, what you should have gotten from the very beginning. Let's take this off. Let's get comfy. What you should have gotten is an invitation from your league manager. Whether you're a new player or you're a reoccurring player, you should have gotten some kind of notification from your league manager. For you ladies specifically, you would have gotten that invitation for the ESPN Fantasy app. Now you have gotten it either via text or via email. That would have been the number two, the top places I would have sent that to you guys. That places most people get them by text by these days. Email. And ladies, don't forget your Cash App so that I can go ahead and give you ladies your prizes for when you win this fantasy league. I see everybody join the podcast. I do appreciate you guys coming through. You ladies aren't the only ones that's trying to learn what to do for your fantasy draft coming up. Because the league starts in a week, right? We're talking about it's Wednesday night. The league comes back Thursday. Football starts. That means now every week for the next, or every month for the next 4 months, we gain like about 5 pounds. Beer, wings, greasy stuff, fried stuff, delicious stuff. Ooh, can't wait. You know what? Speaking of, cheers to all of yous. All right. Let's start getting into the draft, right? You have your fantasy football app. You've logged in, right? Your league has been reactivated. you've gotten back into your league, or this is your first time into the league, you got the invitation, you're looking into your league, you get the app and you start wondering, what in the blows and skirt am I supposed to do over here, sir? All right, what am I supposed to do with all this? Well, I'm going to tell you something, right? What you can start doing is start building a queue, right? What that queue is, right? Or let's put it in layman terms, right? What you're going to start doing is start liking all the players that you want to draft, right? And that's what I'm here to guide you for. And I want you to pump the brakes. I know that I just said that. Now you're like, oh, okay, I know who I want. Whoa, Kimosabi. I'm glad you're enthusiastic. That's what's up. Shows gumption. Well, we're gonna try to, not only are you gonna get so many people that you want, we're gonna try to find a way to put this in a little bit of order for you, right? So let's start at the tippity top. Oh, my people, sing it, daddy. Yeah. The top of the top, the cream of the crop, the first round picks. Now, I told you I'm here for a very specific purpose. And that purpose is to make sure, more than anything else, that you ladies, let's see something here. Okay, I know what's going on there. Do not draft any, and I do mean absolutely any, quarterbacks in the first round. I've been doing this fantasy league now for about 8 years, and I swear on everything round that every year somebody drafts a quarterback in the first round. It's almost like you ignore what I'm telling you here. And every year it happens. Mia, I'm talking to you. Mia. Stop drafting FSU quarterbacks in the first round. I'm talking to you. All right? Let me tell you what you should be drafting in the first round. Your first round, it should be heavy hitters, right? You're talking about, like I said, it's the cream of the crop, is the best of the best, right? Your very first round should be your elite of the elites. But not just your elite of the elites. You want it to be a running back. More than likely, right? Because most of you are playing in either a 10-person league or a 12-person, right? I think it's somewhere set around there. If you're lucky, you're in an 8-person league. And if you're in an 8-person league, then you're like a kid at a candy store. 10-person league, I feel the same way too. Right? But if you're a neophyte, if you're a newbie here, the 10-person league is just right around where you want to start at. But that 12-person league is really when things start to get a little tricky. You really start to wonder, when you start to get to those later rounds, like, oh my God, if you made a mistake early, you're going to be beating yourself up late. And then when that draft is over, you're going to be looking at yourself like, I don't even know what I have here. Like, I just beat people together. Like, easy thing. Nothing fits. We got peanut butter. We got no jelly. We got ham, no burger. Like we got hot. We got no sauce. We got no sauce. I'm going to make sure you got that sauce. First round, go running back. You really can't go wrong by going running back early. And you're going to hear a theme here, right? It's going to sound like I'm repeating myself. Pay attention to the screen. Right? Go elite. When we say elite, you want to be elite. Don't get cute here. The first round is not the chance to get cute. What you want to do here is you want to make sure that you get your heavy hitters. You want to make sure you get your people that hit dingers. You want to get your touchdown makers. You want to get your move shakers. You want to get the people that every single time that you're turning on ESPN, you're watching highlights, House of Highlights, Breacher Report highlights, whatever it is, you're seeing these guys make touchdowns and making game-winning plays consistently on a consistent basis. So in the first one, that's why I say don't get quarterbacks. I don't even like, oh, that's a quarterback. No, it's not a quarterback. Not in fantasy. See, I'm gonna teach you the fundamentals. We're gonna build from the inside out. Right? But you're gonna start with your running backs. And for your first 12 picks, majority of your picks, that's all you're probably gonna see is running back. You don't want to leave yourself without an individual that, when it comes down to them being in scoring position, they're the number one people that's going to get the ball. You don't want to you don't want to rob yourself of that opportunity. So like I said, don't get cute. Don't listen to what your boyfriend says. Right? Don't listen to what your granny says. Don't listen to what the hubby says. Don't listen to what your little one says. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, who's your favorite? No, that's not going to help you here. Fundamentals. Remember, we got to build a foundation first. Your foundation is going to be with some elite running back that you know is going to carry you week after week after week after week after week. Put up points after points after points after points, buckets after buckets, scores after scores. We're talking about pigskin after pigskin, looking like Thanksgiving dinner every single night. You want somebody out there that's going to eat and eat like a beast. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you who to pick. But what you are hearing a lot of, right, in the first rounds of, or on the first round of fantasy of the draft, you're hearing a lot of Christian McCaffrey. You're hearing a lot of Jonathan Taylor. A lot of Jonathan Taylor. Right? You're hearing, who else? You're hearing some Najee Harris. Right? Like, these are the names that are popping up. CD Lambs, Javonte Williams. Let me go hold off on Javonte Williams a little bit. And CD Lamb. Well, CD Lamb more than anything else. Get yourself a couple of home run running backs. And I'm gonna give you the first MyT pro tip, right? MyT. Right of the evening. And that is going to be, I'm not told you to go heavy on the running backs. Right? I'm not told you to go real heavy on the running backs. But grabbing a wide receiver at the end of the first round is actually kind of acceptable. It's a sneaky good move. Now, I'm going to explain to you in a second why, right? So, for most of you, you guys are going into a snake draft, right? And what that means is that you're going to go from 1 to 12, right? And then 12 is going to be the 13th pick, and they're going to pick first in the second round. And they're going to go 13 to 24. And then the person who picked first, they're going to pick with the 24th pick. Snake. So sometimes it may behoove you if you're in the back of that first round and you know that you're going to be coming right back up on another pick, that you know what? Maybe you go ahead and you grab your wide receiver here and then come back early in the second round and you start following what I said before and go back and grab yourself a running back. Because so don't overthink it. But I'll tell you, if you're picked 10, 11, and 12 in the first round and you're looking at some of these running backs and you're saying like, well, this is a stud wide receiver. And when I say stud wide receiver, we're talking about number 1, number 2, and number 3. Go ahead and check out the tickler on the bottom, right? We're talking about number 1, number 2, number 3, stud wide receivers, the guys that separate themselves from the rest of the pack. That's gonna be your biggest that you're probably not gonna realize here. There are about 3 people at the top of every position, and then everybody else kind of does the same ish. Everybody else is kind of mediocre. Everybody else puts up the same average numbers. And then every once in a while, you get yourself a breakout. So if you find yourself an opportunity to grab one of those elite wide receivers, one of those top 3 guys, yeah, there's nothing against it here. Grab yourself a wide receiver. But in that second round, you better be ready to go back into the formula. Right? You better be ready to get back right into drafting a running back. Because running backs are premium. And they go fast. Yes, folks, they go fast. As we mentioned earlier, when it comes to red zone touches, You're looking at the individuals that have the highest percentage of touches. When you come and get into the red zone, I should say. Let's get this verbiage right. I'm talking about individuals that are in the red zone, right? When you get to the red zone, these are the guys you're running back, so they get the highest percentage of touches. Now, granted, you do have some pass happy teams. You do have some individuals in certain circumstances that like to get cute in the Super Bowl, right? But if we're talking about, you know what, I'm not gonna risk. I'm not playing no risky, no bisky. I'm gonna play it safe here, which a lot of coaches do. They play it safe because remember, coaches don't want to do the wrong thing and risk their jobs. They don't want to risk being scrutinized the next morning on ESPN. They don't want to be put on that Monday morning quarterback. Go running back, second round. You're not going to go wrong here. Third round. This is where, okay, you know what? Let's start deviating a little bit, right? Because normally by now you're talking about being in what's called the running back danger zone. Because by now almost every single number one running back has been targeted. You're talking about 24 opportunities for somebody to pick a running back. If the majority of them pick the running back, you're talking about 20 starting running backs off the board. Possibly. 18 starting running backs off the board. And if we're talking about 18 starting running backs off the board, then we're talking about the top half of the running backs. Now, I did mention that after a while, they all kind of do the same thing, but you're running a risk now. You want to be at the high end of we all do the same thing, then the guy that's at the low end of we all do the same thing. Because his spike, right, when he spikes sometimes his average, he drops too far below to be useful. For other guys, see the spike? So you want them, see, they get here, but you want the guy that kind of spikes a little bit higher than the guy that tends to spike lower. All that makes sense. When they're roller coaster, you know, when they're riding it. Pause. So like I said, by the time you hit the third round, you come out, a lot of running backs are gone. I'm hoping you got yourself at least one reliable running back by now. But if you have it, it's about time for you to start pivoting. Because right now is when the wide receiver slot has been open. We're talking about everywhere. And wide receiver has slowly become one of those overabundant spots. While the number of running backs to go over 1,000 yards have been dropping, and actually took its worst drop last year, wide receivers over 1,000 yards is picking up. And even more so, the young wide receivers that go over 1,000 yards is starting to take a little bit of a spike. As a change of the times, we are in a pass-happy league. Now this is talking about the yards they accumulate. Now remember, there's a little bit extra points given for touchdowns. While you may get 1 point for every 10 yards, you're getting 6 points for a touchdown. So you get a wide receiver that gets 60 yards. Without that touchdown, it's 6 points. Then all of a sudden, here comes that running back. After that wide receiver got them down to the 3-yard line. And that running back comes and that's where the value of your running backs come in. Because when it comes to the end zone, when it comes to that short yardage opportunity, they're going to be the ones punching themselves into score. See, most teams don't want to take the risk of passing, get the ball interception in the end zone, get the ball deflected up in the end zone. Next thing you know, you're talking about going the other way. They'll rather put that ball into somebody's chest securely and hope you don't fumble. It's a lot less air time, it's a lot less chances of probability that something can go wrong. So they play it safe. And as they play it safe, we want you to play it safe. We're in the third round by now. Hopefully you got yourself about 2 running backs, and now you're looking for a nice little stud wide receiver. There's going to be some names out there. going to be some names. You have your Cooper Cupps, your Stephon Diggs. Now, those are two of your elite guys. So those may be two individuals that may have gotten picked up at the end of that first round. But let's not go too far off cue, right? Go for your wide receiver in the third round. And we gonna rinse, recycle, repeat for the fourth. Yes, folks, we're gonna do the same exact thing. Fourth round, go ahead and get yourself another wide receiver. Now. Couple little things to be wary of, right? Be careful of who their quarterback is. Meaning to say, pay attention to who their quarterback is. Some quarterbacks, they like to spread the ball around a little too much. There's some quarterbacks in the past that was kind of hard to figure them out, right? Yeah, they may have that one target, Aaron Rodgers sometimes, Tom Brady sometimes, but there's other times throughout their career, they just spread that ball out too much and you can never figure out who's going to be their number one target. Lamar Jackson. Now, I mentioned Lamar Jackson because he brings the other side of the coin, right? While some quarterbacks, you can never figure out who they're going to pass it to, Lamar Jackson is the kind of guy that he may not pass it enough for your liking. So, they said, be careful who their quarterback is. Some guys pass it around too much, and they spread the love. And listen, from a team aspect, you want that. When it comes to your fantasy and you're being stingy, that's a horrible thing. You want to find those guys where it's just them. This is why I told you. This is why in the third round, right, we mentioned. Let's go back. Get yourself number one receivers. Figure out who is being targeted the most on their teams, right? If you see that a team has three guys that are all averaging about 60, 70 receptions and you don't see no separation, I'm getting a little advanced for you. These are for you ladies that want to do a little bit more research. On the Bear service, get yourself a wide receiver, get the best one available. Right? For the ones that want to dig a little. Right? There are quarterbacks that they may average it out too much. 70 here, 70 here, 70 there. But if you look at the team and you realize, oh, this one guy that gets 120 receptions and the closest person to him is 60, yeah, that's a number one. That's a bona fide X. You want that person. You know that person is being force-fed to. And that person, and don't have the misconception that this person needs to be on a winning team. No. See, sometimes most winning teams, they're the ones that like to spread the ball around. Everybody's all happy. Spread the love. Nah, you're one of those desperate, hungry teams. They got one good receiver, and they force everything to him. 18 targets a game, 12 catches. Try to find you that person. The guy that's overly used on his team. Now, I'm not even going to get into that. That's going to be for the advanced podcast maybe next year. This is the one-on-one. We're going to save this one. We're going to save this one for you ladies. And we're going to make sure that you have access to this for the future. And then we're going to build on this one from this year to next year. And hopefully give you ladies a little bit more insight. Hopefully now we're able to get into exactly how many yardage and percentage of uses and touches. A little bit more, you understand? We've taught you basic math. Now let's see if we could add a little X, Y, Z in there and throw in some algebra. Because when it comes to receivers, you're going to want to know who the X, Y, Z is. So start figuring out. So if you're doing additional research, start figuring out who's getting some of these touches. Now, by the fifth round, your goal here is really to have, right? That you should have about like 2 to 4 receivers by now. No quarterbacks. Actually, I'm lying. Yeah. For rounds 3 through 6. You should have gotten yourself about 2 to 4 receivers. We already picked up 2 running backs in the beginning, right? Maybe 1. But after that, it was tons of wide receivers after that. 2 solid running backs that you could count on. And then a ton of guys that got crazy hands. We're talking about Mayweather kind of hands. We're talking about crazy hands like crazy legs. And again, by this time, we have no quarterbacks picked. None whatsoever. Now, we are going to pump our brakes here just a little bit, right? And we're going to give ourselves a little head count. For some reason, you have only one running back. You see it? You guys see it? For some reason, if you have only one running back, get yourself, pump your brakes right now and get yourself, it's this way. Get yourself a running back. Flip my screen around. Watch. Seriously, one running back by now is not going to cut it. If you only have one running back by now, you're really running a risk. Stop everything you're doing. Get yourself a running back by now, because things are going to start getting a little shaky. Now things are going to start getting a little bit iffy, a little bit this guy or that guy. There's a lot of best available about to come, right? Right now we're sitting about round 6. You've gone through this a couple of times. You started building up your queue, and as I mentioned before, with your running backs, especially earlier, because you're probably going to come back to them for round 6. If by any chance in round 6, which I doubt, there are any running backs have over 1,000 yards left on your board, go grab them. I don't even understand what's going on by this ton of time. There's only a few people I could possibly understand falling this low. If they had over 1,000 yards, if you're used to them put up over 1,000 yards within even the last 3 years, because you're always potential, right? You want to see possibly, unless you already know they're already declined. Take a look at them. There's no reason why they should still be here. Now, some of the reasons why they may be here, they may be injury prone. But if we're talking about the 6th round now, as I mentioned already, you got yourself 2 solid running backs, which means that this individual is probably going to be your backup, which means that you probably don't have to rely on this person every single day. So if this happens to be one of those 1,000-yard injury-prone running backs that are still out there, guess what you're going to do? Scoop, baby, scoop. Pick them right on up. I'm gonna tell you about the same philosophy about wide receivers right now. Let's say you're good. Let's say you're good on running backs. You know, you did your Doug Dizzle. You picked up 2, maybe you got 3. And you say to yourself, you know what? I want to go ahead and grab wide receivers. I want to get myself some more pass catchers. Same philosophy. If there's any of these wide receivers out there that's still left that were putting up over 1,000 yards, putting up a band, right? Grab them. There's no reason why they should be left. These are guys that you know you can rely on. I know it seems like almost anybody could put over 1,000 yards in their sleep these days. But if that was the case, everybody would do it. And if that's the case, you want to make sure that you have all the guys that do it. You don't want to leave yourself. You don't want to leave yourself wanting more. Not this early. So we're talking about the first 6 rounds. We're a third of the way through. Your first 6 picks, you should feel really solid about. You shouldn't be thinking like, I messed up here. Ooh, I wish I. No, that's not what should happen here. What should happen here is what should be happening by now, I should say, is very solid picks. First 2 rounds, elite players. Couple of other rounds, productive players, highly productive players. I said anybody over 1,000 yards, anybody with double-digit touchdowns. They should all be off your board by this time. Things are going to start getting tricky after round 6. What we start looking for now is that you still can't have too many running backs. Believe it or not, you really still can't have too many running backs in this game. I told you before, running backs are a premium. You want to make sure that you have as many individuals that are going to be in the highest scoring percentage as possible. It's like basketball back in the day. You can't have too many good centers. Like now, you can't really have too many good point guards or too many ball handler scorers. So for your running backs, grab another one. Now, if you have more than 5 by this point, stop. Or if you have 5 at this point in time, you stop. You've done enough. It's okay. It's all right. You've done enough. Same thing goes for wide receivers. If for some odd reason you find yourself with 5, let's put 5 at the stopping point for your wide receivers and your running backs. When you find yourself at 5, pump those brakes. You may have overreached a little bit. You may have gotten a little bit too happy there. Now, there is a time to go over 5. We're going to explain when you could possibly start doing that. But you don't want to have that many this early. Or if you do, you don't want to have more than 5 this early. You want to tell yourself there's still a lot of talent out there to get. Now, also, sometimes you can have too much talent. There is a such thing as so much talent that you start to confuse yourself on game day. And that's when the cuteness starts coming in. There is a thing. Remember I told you, after a while, everybody starts to get jumbled up. And you're trying to figure out, okay, is this going to be the week that this guy is productive? And then sometimes you put out Old Faithful for somebody that, you're like, I've had this guy for a while. He does well every week. You put him in there, and there's 1 week, you're like, ah. So stay on course. Continue getting these running backs. Continue getting these skilled players. We're talking about we're in round 8 by now. And as you can tell, we still haven't talked quarterbacks. And I still will hold off reservations on getting a quarterback. But I'm going to tell you something. Round 8, still going after wide receivers, still going after running backs. But, and we're talking about a big old Judy kind of booty butt. If you find yourself with the opportunity by the 8th round to get one of those top 2 quarterbacks, do it. Do it. This is the time. Now, if quarterbacks have started going because somebody started reaching early, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to rush. This is where the picking up your running backs and picking up your wide receiver strategy is going to work in your behalf. I said everybody in the middle of the field kind of comes to the mean really, really quick. And that mean is very vast. We're talking about between the picks of 4 and 25, you're talking about something that may not separate guys more than 3 to 4 points. Now, granted, 34 points in any given week may be a win or a loss, but that's generally what we're talking about here. So if somebody else reach before them, stick to the plan. But if you find yourself by the 8th round looking one of these guys in the face, one of these Josh Allens, Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers, right? Go for it. I would even say the same thing very oddly for a tight end. You catch us with one of the top 2 tight ends available, Go scoop them up. That's only right here. And that's because you're about to start getting them anyway. If anybody else has reached for any of those positions before now, it's okay. Stick to your running back and wide receiver strategy. Because when they have to come back looking for these individuals, you'll be good. They didn't get anything too spectacular that's going to matter so much. They'll be like, okay, this person is now all of a sudden made sure that they won fantasy football. Nah. Because now when they're looking for a running back and they can't get a guy that puts up more than 6 points in a week, and now you're sitting with 3 individuals that averages 12 points every single week, and then a guy sitting on your bench that you do nothing with that puts up 10, and another guy that puts up 9, and his strongest guy is a 6, you'll be all right. See, these are the strategies here. Let me tell you, your running backs and your wide receivers, especially your running backs early, get those guys. Those guys are rare. They're rare gems. Wide receivers these days, you're going to have an overabundance of them. That's the reason why we're targeting so many between these rounds of 2 and 8. You want to get fat and sassy on your receivers. You understand? You're talking about you want to be able to catch a greased up chicken. And if you look at these guys' gloves these days, I'm pretty sure they could catch themselves a greased up chicken. I'm talking about some rocky stuff. Now, I want you to round 9. This is now the time to now. This is the time you probably all been waiting for. You guys been wondering, like, okay, when I can finally get my quarterback? When do we finally get the guy that in normal football they consider the most important person on the field? Well, he's not in fantasy. That's still your running back. But now about round 9, right when you're about to get to the halfway point of the draft, you come after this. You come after your quarterbacks now. Like we mentioned earlier, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Get them. Get them if you want. Go do whatever you want to do now. In any scenario, I still tell you to try to get you the best player available. Tom Brady, for as much legacy that he has, and for the name that you know, and for the winning that you're familiar, that's synonymous with Tom Brady, that doesn't mean that he's the most productive fantasy football quarterback that you can draft. For what Tom Brady does, you can get yourselves, dare I say, a Kirk Cousins and fulfill a Baker Mayfield, a Jimmy Garoppolo, if he starts, that is. You understand? You understand? So I gave you some other familiar names, but I know if you're familiar with some of these names, you're like, oh, wow, these guys are nowhere on the level of Tom Brady. My golly. Calm down there, T. Talking crazy talk. I may be. You could be right. You could be right. I could be talking crazy talk. But more importantly, damn, we got this far this fast? More importantly, right? It's about the fantasy aspect of it. And while Tom Brady does win, and you do find him putting up, he has outstanding lifetime numbers. Sometimes his numbers in the regular season are kind of average compared to the pack. There are more dynamic running back or wide quarterbacks based off of not only their passing ability, but also their running ability. You have to remember here, when quarterbacks start to run, they turn into running backs. And running backs get 6 points for a touchdown. Quarterbacks, because the ball's in their hand all the time, they only get 4 points for a passing touchdown. Now again, I'm going a little bit deeper here. I'm going into the point system a little bit. Wasn't really going to go into the point system too much, but you understand there's a point system. That's how you ladies are going to win. And this is what you're trying to achieve. 6 points for touchdowns from your wide receivers, your tight ends, and your running backs, and your quarterback when he runs. When your quarterback is passing, there's only 4 points. So this is why Tom Brady doesn't get the same value that some other guys may get. I say sometimes like a Baker Mayfield who decides to be a little bit more elusive and go for rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen that utilizes his legs a lot because of his size and where he plays in and just his overall and his general game. This is why guys like Cam Newton in the past was such a fantasy football stud, because he was one of those guys that was getting you, what was that, 20 receiving touchdowns and another 15 rushing touchdowns. Or however many the numbers were. 40 and 15, 25 and 50. You know what I mean. So yeah, quarterbacks. Get them here. It's okay. And pay attention to who your elites are. I said a few of your elites by now, somebody may have reached for one of these names already that you're seeing on the board. Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes is probably already gone, along with a bunch of other names. But I'm pretty sure by this point in time, you'll still see Russell Wilson out there. You'll still see who's the guy in LA? Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford. Those guys will still be available, most likely. That's why I said don't panic. If somebody starts the quarterback domino train early, it's okay. You don't want to be the person that starts it early. But it's okay. You can be the person that finishes it. Like I said, they could reach for something in that area, but overall, it's still going to come down to the means. Now, all about fantasy football, still finding little nuggets everywhere, and that's what they're trying to do. They're hoping to catch that steal somewhere because they figure everybody else is going to wait this long. Let me find that steal of a quarterback. Maybe it's their favorite quarterback. Maybe it's the quarterback. Maybe it's the quarterback that they have. They have that quarterback's face on a pillow and they hug it at night. You never know. Don't fall for their trap. Keep yourself FREE. Okay. But we're getting quarterbacks by the 9th round. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, take a break. Give yourself a round of applause. You've made it halfway through the draft. Like, seriously. in round 10, right? As I said, we're gonna start talking a lot of best available, and things are gonna go fast now, right? Now I'm gonna tell you this, ladies, don't you dare auto draft. It's disrespectful to your, it's disrespectful to the league that you're in, and it's disrespectful to the other people that are playing. Do not auto draft. One, it takes up too much time because auto draft has to spend the full amount of the clock just for it to make a pick. So if you're like, oh my God, this takes too long, well, you are now making this too long. You are the cause of your own angst. That's what little things help here. Mock draft, it helps here. Building that queue that I talked about, putting all, liking all those players that you like and putting them in a little stash box so that you can see them on draft day. Like these little things matter. Putting guys in your wish list, something like that. Like you do with your Amazon shopping list, put them in your wish list. Like, I hope I can get this guy a little bit later. You know what I mean? Pause. But now we've gone heavy on the wide receivers. We've gone heavy on running backs. I just told you guys to start picking up some quarterbacks. We know there's a position we haven't quite addressed yet, and that's our tight ends. We know how much you ladies love a good tight end. That's the reason why we waited so long. We had to tease you with it for a while. Round 10, right? This is where you can probably start getting some of your tight ends at, right? Go best available, right? Some recognizable names here: Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Zach Ertz. I doubt by now. No, if they're following the standard, these guys may be available. Now, I'm telling you this, ladies, for this league. But if some of you over here sneaky, like, you know what, I play in other leagues too, and I just want a little refresher about what to do every once in a while. I feel like I can't quite get over the hump. Some tight ends may have been gone already. It's okay. It's okay. You're good. Remember, they reached early. Right now, they reached early for what may have been possibly one of the top 2 or 3. It's okay. Get yourself whatever best available tight end there is. Now, there was a piece of pro tip that I was going to hold off until the end of the podcast. But since we've talked about so many wide receivers, and we're now talking about a tight end, I think I'm still going to hold it off to the end of the podcast just to tease you guys a little bit more. Like I said, things are going to start going fast by the second half of the draft, right? Especially when you're no longer picking people by name. People have specific individuals in the first half of the draft that they're trying to target. And like I said, you're trying to figure out when you're going to pick them. In the back half, we're talking about best available. You're going to hear this a lot from me coming up real soon. Best available. Boom, 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 bing, bing, boom. Right? This is when things are going to start getting deep now. You're going to start getting real deep into who's available. Guess what we're going to come back to? If you still have room for them, right? If you have less than 5 running backs, guess what we're going to do right here? We're going to grab ourselves probably another best available running back, right? By this time, we're talking about guys that you may recognize like Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, Tony Pollard. These are some of the more recognizable names around this portion of the draft. Now, these guys may not be there because sometimes people draft based off of names that they know. They'll skip over a lot of productive players in that general, because what you'll end up seeing every time. Let me back up, because I keep telling you guys that to pick the best available player. And if you do a mock draft, listen to this podcast again. Do a mock draft, and it's just you start being able to put this into application and start making sense. It'll make sense real fast. To be honest with you, it'll click immediately. And what you'll see is that every time you come around a pick, you're going to see a group of players listed in front of you. And it's going to be from best available to or potential best available player to whoever is the worst, all the way down. So we say best available. That's what we talk about, best available. You see a best available running back up there, it's possible you grab them. But sometimes people, what they do, they see who's on that screen, or was who within a certain amount of range. I'm like, oh, well, I don't really know any of these people's names. Let me pick up this name that I do know. Here goes Kareem Hunt. And you may have passed up on Najee Harris. I doubt it, but just to give you an example of how these things happen. You know, people may pick Ezekiel Elliott over Jonathan Taylor because of the namesake. The more recognizable name. This is when you're not paying attention to best available. Get best available. And right around here, we're going for best available again. Running back or best available. When I say or best available, that could mean best available wide receiver if you haven't gone over your wide receiver threshold. And earlier I told you if you already have 5 paws there, this is what I point in time there. If you want to go ahead and stack up with 6 in one of these positions, wide receiver, running back, I ain't too proud to beg. I'm not gonna be upset over here. I don't see nothing wrong. And you're pushing it. You can leave yourself a little thin. And there's still gonna be opportunities to get more. But it's okay. Again, like I said, it's a safe place here. You should feel comfortable here, right? I want you to relax. I want you to breathe. It's okay. It's okay to let go. It's okay to get that extra running back. They're going to run off those carbs anyway. It's okay. And I've been giving you a lot of fundamental, right? I've been giving you a lot. Like I said, we've still been building a lot of that house. I mean, like, damn, when can I have some fun? Fun is coming. Fun is coming. But like anything else, sports, life, you do all of this practice. You do all of this thing for that little bit of fun. You're going to do all this for a little bit of fun. All right? Stop me if you heard this already. We're gonna go into round 12 now, right? And here in round 12, a lot of the same thing again. We are looking at best available. Now let's try it for the wide receivers. You did running back earlier, right? Now go for best available wide receiver. If you didn't like the best available running back earlier and you did wide receiver then go running back here. Actually, within these next 3 picks, you can kind of switch it around. There's 2 picks, let's just say. Those last 2 picks, you can switch them around. Best available running back, best available wide receiver, whichever one you wanted to do. Because now with lucky number 13 is when you can get cute. Now, I say you can get cute here because this is when, if there's a favorite player that you have, go ahead and grab him. You've done enough, right? You've gotten yourself by now 4 or 5 running backs, 4 or 5 receivers. You got yourself a quarterback and a tight end. We're in round 13. So if all you have is 1 quarterback and 1 tight end, right? That means between running backs, you probably have already 11. That's 11 picks. Well, we're on the 13th right now. So you probably have like 5 and 5. This is probably when you're going to pick up your 6th guy if you want to. 6th running back, 6th wide receiver. Or maybe you already had 6 running backs. Now you're trying to pick your 5th wide receiver. But now it's time you can get cute if you want to. Get cute. Go ahead. Pick that guy. Pick that guy from your favorite team. Or just pick a guy from your favorite team. If you've been holding on to something like, man, I just some guy I really want on my team, go ahead and do it. This is when you could go ahead because you've already picked all your fundamental people. This guy, if you even think about playing him or you get to the point where you're playing him, is because you have 2 solid guys, you just want to try something out, or you are absolutely flying under clouds. Every day. If you know what I mean. Yes, you're foosed. You are foosed, my friend. You are completely foosed. What's up? But it's okay here, right? You can do that here. Go get that guy from here. Go get that favorite person from your team. Like, there's nobody's gonna judge you here for it. I'm not gonna be looking at you and be like, hey, I thought, no, it's okay. Round 14, right? This is now the snooze fest portion of it, right? When I'm about snooze fed, this is where you get your sleeper picks. This is not. I remember I told you that somebody's trying to find something that they didn't know about. Well, this is not when you take the truly safe gamble. Go ahead and get that rookie that you like. Get that rookie running back. Get that rookie wide receiver. This is why you see you hold up a couple of spots. Get him. Drake London, Atlanta, number 1 wide receiver. Kenny Walker. These guys are out there. I think Kenny Walker is the number 1. Is he the number 1 tight end or the number 2 wide receiver? Number 3 wide receiver? One of those two. So if there's rookies now out there, and based off how the league has been going lately, you're going to get yourself. You will find at least 3 rookies, wide receivers, and in running backs that are going to pop. It's been a trend for the last, 3 to 5 years now. You're going to get yourself a good 2 to 3 wide receivers, especially wide receivers. You get yourself a good 2 to 3 wide receivers, a good 2 to 3 running backs that right now in their rookie year, they are going to pop. So if you have an idea about one of those rookies, if they're still on the board, grab them. This is that time. We're almost at the end of the draft. After this, we only have 4 more. We only have 4 more picks: 15, 16, 17, and 18. And there's 2 positions that we haven't even drafted yet that you're gonna have to draft. So now we're really only looking at 2 more spots left. And by now, you got yourself a quarterback. You got yourself a tight end, and now you should have a barrel of running backs and wide receivers. And I'm gonna tell you why. Right? As we go to round 15 and you finally, maybe you try to go fancy. If you've played in the past, then I'm going to say this to you, and the moment I say it, it's going to feel like somebody punched you in the chest. Part of the reason why you get 5 to 6 running backs, 5 to 6 wide receivers, see some of those studs that you thought was gonna be that were going to be guarantees. See, this is like a hand of spades. You know that hand that you thought was going to be a guaranteed? And then you play it, and all of a sudden somebody has none of those books, and they cut it, wham! You don't got that book no more? Well, that's what happened to some of these stud wide receivers. That's what happened to some of these stud running backs. You think they're going to be out here and they're going to produce. And all of a sudden, bam, Christian McCaffrey's out for a year. Oh, my God, Ezekiel Elliott, he's gone. Oh, my God, Saquon Barkley, he's out. And these were guys you drafted in the first 5 picks in the past. And now you're looking at yourself, woe-wees me, what is to be? Because your RB1 just went down, son. Now you're looking for scraps. But if you had 5, 6 backups, some guys now you think, okay, I don't got that big monster up there, but I got a bunch of people that could do some really good averages. That's why you protect yourself against that. Ironically, we only picked 1 wide receiver, 1 quarterback, and 1 tight end because we don't have to worry about being protected from that too much. Too much. So in round 15, if you like, right here, right now, in front of all of the fantasy football participants, go ahead and get yourself another quarterback. If there was a quarterback that you see still left, and like, oh my God, I really love this dude, and he's still sitting here. Like, oh my God, I think he's gonna pop. Oh my God, he's being slept on. I think he could grab him. Because you never know if your quarterback is gonna be that one quarterback that takes that dive this year. I said it's a lot more common with wide receivers and running backs. It's not so common with quarterbacks, but when that does happen, it is devastating. But luckily for the way it is and how most leagues are set up, let's say you're in a 12-person league and everybody drafted 2 quarterbacks. Let's say up to now, everybody drafted 2 quarterbacks and you haven't drafted a quarterback yet. That means you should still have one of the top 20 quarterbacks in the league available. One of the top 25. And that's good because you know what? That 23rd quarterback, a lot of times, is just as productive as that 14th quarterback. Just as productive as that 17th quarterback. There's not much splitting them. You want to stay away from like really like 29 and 30, because that's when you start talking about like Daniel Jones and Zach Morris from the Jets, whatever his name is, and whatever's in Chicago, like whatever's in Detroit. Like, no, you don't want to get down that far. But at around like 24, you're right. Like, things are still looking up for you. You don't have to worry so much. But if you're like, man, I don't want to leave myself exposed like that. I want to feel too naked. But go ahead and pick yourself a backup quarter. You can get fancy here. Go ahead and put a little bit of blush. Put on some eyeliner. And you know what you're gonna do in the next round? We're gonna put on them red bottoms in the next round, right? We're gonna keep getting fancy. We're gonna go a little cray. Right? We're gonna put on a crop top. We're gonna show all that Don't show all that cleavage. Round 16, we're gonna go multiverse. If you want to, back up your tight end. You only have one at this point in time. Back him up. So now, if things would have went right, you got 2 quarterbacks, you got 2 tight ends, and 6 wide receivers and 6 running backs. You're doing great. Believe it or not, you're doing great, and you're right on pace. Now, round 17, folks. This is now, we have one more round after this, and there's not a lot left. What we're going to get here is your defense. Now, like quarterbacks, you may have seen somebody go and reach for a defense early. You don't want to be the person that pushes over that domino. It's okay. What they did is that they made sure that they grabbed who may have been the best defense. Like I said, once those top 2 or 3 defenses go, you don't have to be like, oh my God, I got a secure defense and then it's going to be available. Nope. Because most people only drafted 1 defense. Which means that regardless of what happens, you should be able to find yourself with a top 15 defense in the league. And if that's the case, then you're still finding yourself a productive defense. Now, I haven't mentioned something about the whole entire draft, and that's something called a bye week. Meaning that week that players are off. You want to be careful to not draft too many players with the same day off. For the reason why you have so many backups. It's so that you can interchange them. That's part of the reason for the backups. It's not so that you can interchange them out for injury. And not so you could change them out based off who you think is going to be most productive that week. But also, players have off weeks. They get time off. And you want to make sure that you have somebody to cover that individual that's going to be off that day. Think of it like a job. You have to find coverage. So you don't want to draft a bunch. You don't want to have all your people with a bye week in week 12. And week 12 comes around, you're going to have no team. Now, some of these positions where you only drafted 1 player, like your defense, maybe your quarterback, maybe your tight end, you're going to have to drop one of those guys at the bottom of the barrel so that you can find a replacement for them for this week. One of those bottom of the barrel wide receivers, one of those bottom of the barrel tight ends. Running backs. It may happen that way. The very last pick of the draft, you are going to pick a kicker. Very last pick. And I heard this from a football player, so the reason why I'm saying this, you pick them last because they're not even real people. And having a good one can get you an easy 12 points per game, which is just as good as an average running back, average tight end, average wide receiver. More than average, to be honest with you. So I can understand how a good one here, but again, you don't have to reach for this guy early. These are kickers. Most people are only picking 1. Some people are picking 2. But you've heard what I've said here. I've given you 1 kicker, 1 defense. At most 2 quarterbacks. At most 2 tight ends. That's 6 positions. The other 12 slots, wide receivers and running backs. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to catch yourself with less than 5 running backs. You don't want to catch yourself with less than 5 wide receivers. I've given you the formula to get 6. You don't want to have less than 5. You may panic. I get it. You may want to you may want to think that you're smarter than the system, and you may want to you may think you're smarter than the system. Not my system, all right? It's just the winning system that I've utilized in the past. You may think that you're better than the system, and you want to try to get some sneaky picks here and there. That's cool, but still try to find a way to come back. No less than 5 running backs. No less than 5 wide receivers. You don't need no more than 2 tight ends. You don't need any more than 2 quarterbacks. Now, where you come down from 6 to 5 is if you want to back up your other positions too. If you want to back up your kicker and get 2 kickers. If you want to back up your defense and get 2 defenses. I personally don't see the need for it, but if it makes you feel at ease, then go for it. As you can see for the back half of this formula, there's a lot of best available. There's a lot of things that you can maneuver around. And the system will keep track of how many of each position you have drafted. So if they're like, oh my God, how am I going to know that if I drafted 4 or 5 wide receivers? It'll tell you right on the bottom of your screen. It'll say it for you. So you start going like, oh shoot, I already fulfilled how many running backs I want up until now. Then you can start going after other positions. Listen, there's a lot in there that can be switched around. But it's just that, as you can see, by certain points, you want to have tried to solidify a certain amount of assets, a certain amount of a particular set of assets. Because if not, you're going to leave yourself a little too exposed. And it's all about coverage on all ends and not leaving yourself too exposed to try to win this league. A league that's very winnable, ladies, fellas, whatever kind of league that you're joining. Like I said, this is for your standard league, 12-person league I'm giving advice for. It's not so much about who to pick where. It's about what to pick where. Because if you have an idea of what to pick where, then the who will kind of just fall into place. And then once you have that formula down, then those other years to come, those are when things really start to get good. Those are when things really start to get interesting. Because now you find yourself being able to play around with things that you never had a chance to play around with before. Congratulations, ladies. We're done here. You've made it through the draft podcast. You've made it through your draft. I hope that even while I was talking, and you said, you know what, let me put up my phone and do a mock draft. I guarantee by the time this podcast is done, if you would have started doing a mock draft from the beginning of this podcast to the end, you could have done at least 3. And I'm being generous by saying only 3 mock drafts already. Just letting you know. So you ever sit there and like, oh my God, I could have done that many? Probably 6. But definitely 3. Could have found yourself in 3 mock drafts, and then a lot of this will make a whole lot more sense. We have a big weekend coming up before the mock draft. Come take the opportunity. When they're sitting down there doing nothing, sipping on a mimosa, it's like, you know what? Let me see what this whole mock 9 draft or whatever it is, mock speed draft is about. Guys, that's really what it is. It's a mock speed draft. It's a tenth of the time the regular draft is. Now, my last pro tip for you, ladies, and I said I was saving this for last. If you can match up your quarterback with your wide receiver, or match up the wide receiver with the quarterback, do so. Especially some of these dynamic guys, right? Buffalo, Minnesota, LA, Tampa Bay, Philly, Arizona. If you can, Las Vegas, if you can match up that quarterback with who their number one talent is, their number one target is, then what you do is you find yourself an opportunity to double dip in some fantasy football points. And trust me, those are sweet. Those are very sweet. So that means that gives you opportunity that if your wide receiver scores his 6 points, that means you just got an additional 4 points because it was with that quarterback that you have too. And if they did 50 yards, then you get 5 plus another 2, then you got another 7. That means on that play right there, you got an extra 6 points. It adds up. It matters. You went from 11 points on that play to 17 points on that play. Or you went from what could have been maybe only putting 6 points in that play to 17 points in that play. So that's what it means to double them up on your wide receiver or the tight end. Running back, he's handed it off to him. Unless you have one of those high catch usage tight end running backs, then maybe you could slide them in. That's a little bit, like I said, this is an advanced tip. I've given you about like 3 advanced tips so far during this podcast. This is why it's kind of worth listening to again, because these nuggets are in there, and you may not have caught them the first time, but definitely you'll catch them the second and third time around, especially if you do this along with a mock draft. I'm going to keep just in that mock draft, and that mock draft is going to help you win that prize. And that prize gets bigger and bigger every single day and every single time I do a delivery for Amazon. Because I use the Get Upside app. Yes. I use the Get Upside app. I don't even have my promo code ready for you guys. But yes. But don't worry, you have my links all over the place. Go to link is in my bio. Go follow my link tree. You see the Get Upside link, right? You'll be able to get yourself extra 25 cents back on your gas. But yeah, that's where a lot of your prizes is coming from. I hope everybody has enjoyed the podcast. I'm out of here. It's late. It's the whole next day. Like, we started this podcast yesterday. It's a whole nother day now. But again, I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. And as I said, we will continue to build on this throughout the years. Now, this is only the first. This is only the first of a series for you ladies. And as you continue to play, you continue to hear about this. I'll put this in the stash box. So next year, when we have some of those newbies and wonder like, oh my God, what do we do? I can share this with the newbies. And then for you other people that's returning, we'll have something else now. We'll start going over scoring systems. We'll start going maybe bye weeks. We'll start going into that interesting stuff that I started teasing you with this year. As things start to make a little bit more sense. Do a mock draft, catch the podcast. And before we leave, podcast returns next week, September 7th. First show is on a Wednesday, live from Sharky's. That's Sharky's. That's GW Sharky's Bar and Grill on Pine Island and Royal Palm. Started September 7th. Every week that we're at Sharky's, and while we're at Sharky's exclusively, we will be conducting a raffle. And that raffle is going to be for a local art show called In Art We Lust. We're gonna run this raffle for a month. You have to be there in person to purchase the tickets. You don't have to be there in person to hear if you've won. But what you will need to do is to make sure. Actually, no. You don't have to be there in person to make sure that you've won. Just make sure that you leave your contact information on the back of your ticket, and I'll make sure I will call you so that we can arrange on getting you your tickets. You have to be there to purchase. You don't have to be there to win. The winner will be announced 5 weeks from September 7th. In Art We Lust is on October 21st. So if I'm not mistaken, that makes it like October 14th, 13th, 10th, September 10th, October 7th, somewhere around there. Like October 10th or 11th is when we're gonna be announcing the winners. You're gonna want to be there. Also, Sharky's has a whole bunch of new drink specials that you guys are going to want to be able to take advantage of. Folks, again, this is Talento Martela with the MyT Sports Podcast. I appreciate you guys listening. I am out of here. As you guys know, what we like to say at the end of every single podcast: continue to transform yourself in the type of individual that you would like to work for you. And with that said, we're gone. I have no outro to play right now. Actually, maybe I do. Run that outro for me one time for the one time. Sorry. I tried.
all the bandwidth in the world couldn't keep me contained. No